Balcha, welcome back. So this is the beginning of video 3, book 2, The Convoluted Universe. This week we started with video 2. Video 1 I did last week. I don't know why I did that. I have myself so confused at this point. And then when I uploaded it, I did the numbers all wrong. I had to go back and edit it. So I apologize for that. That was last week. So last week we finished book 1 completely. And I did a short video, part 1 of book number 2. I just now uploaded video number 2 of book number 2. And now we're going to do number 3 of book number 2. Chapter 8. Taken to safety. So Canon heard several versions of the same story, basically. ETs removing humans to safety to wait out a return for whatever catastrophe had happened to calm down. Some say they go to a new Eden planet. Some say to wait it out. Some say they're aboard craft. And it's explained to her that it would take thousands of years for their descendants to return. But, and this had happened many times, but some other person gives her the information that they're put in a kind of a time pause. And so it's the same people who go back. So just had to bring that up. Too much was invested in us by the people who put us here to let us just 100% disappear. Canon discovered that her assumptions about all of this were really wrong. She does this session with Marion. Now this is, up until then, her information has been muddled. That's why I sound so muddled. She's been getting conflicting information. Some say taken to a different planet. Others say stay in a spaceship in suspended animation, time has no meaning. Some say it's not them, it's their descendants thousands of years later. So now she talks to Marion, who sees herself as a 30-year-old man in trance, on the edge of a forest looking at a small town across a grassy plain. And he had been heading there from his own town. And there was much confusion in this guy. He'd been sent as an emissary to get the people in this village to join with the people in his village. Something was happening that was disrupting things everywhere. His village had found out, and they were trying to warn these other people and get them to join together for their mutual protection. So he must find a natural leader who could pull the groups together. And he finds a woman who's like-minded, and she gets the people to listen to him because they're scared and they don't want to hear. You know how people are. They don't want to hear. So Canon learns that a number of emissaries have fanned out from this place to get many places to go into a group in cooperation to form a council. The subject can't define the threat, the trance subject, this person who's under hypnosis. Is it a war? Is it earth changes? Uncertain. The subject describes many people gathering in a clearing. Alien ships land, and they're not hostile. They're oval, they hold many people. The subject says, we didn't know what this was. We didn't know what was coming. We were all entirely confused. The leaders have to convince the people to go aboard these ships because they're going to die on the earth if they don't go aboard these ships because of the changes. And many of them think, oh yeah, right. Many of them think that's crazy. They're not getting on any alien ship, and many of them are too afraid to do it. So they tell the people it's okay to bring your stuff, it's okay to bring your animals, there's room for everything. The ETs doing this look human. They're trying to look non-threatening because they make themselves look human. So there's lots of work to do trying to reassure the people, but eventually they do manage to convince some of them to get on this thing, and they're up above the earth and they can look down on the earth, and it looks like flares of light like volcanoes and just clouds and weird stuff going on, and they're told that it's planetary changes, kind of a cross between volcanoes, comets, and nukes. So who knows? they're told that the rescued people will be held in a sort of suspended animation. Time goes by, but they won't change. Time goes by on Earth, it heals, but the people in the ships, no time goes by. Time passes for humans because we're trapped in the concept of time. We're told over and over they can't believe that humans are so bizarre that they are the only beings in the universe that measure something that doesn't exist. The ETs have no concept of time. It has no meaning for them, and it makes it easier for them to travel through time and space because there is no time. Past, present, and future, they say, all happens at the same moment. Happens at the same time. Man is the only species, so here we go, here's the quote. Man is the only species in the universe that's found a way to measure something that doesn't exist. It's pretty funny. So time is an illusion. These ships just hover, and the Earth looks like the 4th of July, is the description looking down. Fires, explosions, color flashes. Then they're brought back, and they're given a little bit of help to start over. The subject, shortly after the return, is killed by being crushed by a falling tree. And he's asked, what did you learn, during that lifetime? And it was that sometimes you have to go with the unknown. You have to not be afraid to go with the unknown. So this is a repeating natural cycle, but it's not meant for all life to perish. We just screw things up. But it's on the way again. The goal is to make people, to wake people up, to be willing to go on the ships that would be rescuing them. So if anyone offers you a ride in a UFO, ask for a window seat. Section 3, Advanced Beings and Karma. Chapter 9, Children Create Karma. So this is a new subject named Susan. She goes into trance and sees herself in front of a large metal door with a large X made out of 4 triangles. Triangle, 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 like that. And they open, like Star Trek, they open to create a portal. She saw that it wasn't Earth outside, that the ground was red and there was a large dome over them, and they were in a valley with no trees or vegetation. There was no air outside. It wasn't safe. People were underground in shelters. They had entered the side of a cliff to a dark area below the surface and where people were hiding. She saw herself as a tall blonde man, and she was actually a delivery man. She was delivering supplies to outposts on planets in a 2-sun system. His job, was to check on what people needed, to bring water. The humans were in rags. The dome had power engines that created this artificial atmosphere to filter the shelter. There was a war a long time ago which had destroyed the atmosphere with a nuke, and these new groups had discovered the planet fighting, and now we're trying to take control of the resources. So fighting amongst ourselves, and attracted the attention of intergalactic people who wanted to fight. The subject saw himself return to his scout ship and fly off. He was told, this hypnotic subject was told by canon to go to an important day. And he says, oh, I'm crashing and I'm dying. So this Susan is the subject. She had many dreams before going into trance of living on a red planet with 2 suns. She goes into trance and she tells this whole story. It's crazy. Crazy in a good way. It's wild. She had decided on Earth this time, and it had turned out to be way too hard for her subconsciously. Earth is a big challenge to live on. I mean, we're brave to be here, and we're true survivors to manage to live a lifetime on Earth. It's very difficult. Also, in her past lives, there was reproduction by cloning. She, in this life, could not get pregnant because it was so foreign to her subconsciously, because in previous life, there was no such thing as getting pregnant. People were cloned. And there are a lot of things in this life, that traits and attitudes, behaviors, fears, ideas that people have, that actually are from their subconscious memory of their past lives. She kept telling Canon, I'm done, I want to go, I don't want to be on Earth. I mean, this woman was expressing suicidal ideology. Is that the right word? Ideation. And she was saying, I don't want to be here. She didn't really want a child in her subconscious because it would create connections to the earth that she didn't want, because children create karma. Oh, do they ever. Kids create a karmic tie to the earth for parents. I don't think we needed a book to tell us that. So many souls who volunteer to come here don't want children. So, you know, you frequently, that may have something to do with why people who are kind of mystics and nuns and priests and monks and stuff are celibate. They don't want children. They want to remain free of karma so that they can leave here when they're done with their job. Canon has induced many who regressed to a time of being a light being, and then they tell her that they incarnated on Earth, kind of like lowered their standards to come here to help, and then they were shocked by how difficult life was here and how life incarnate was much more difficult than in other places. So there's this whole thing about light beings who came in waves to help, and the first wave would be about 60 years old now, and this is in the year 2000, so in their 80s maybe. People who didn't feel like they belonged here, that something was different, something was missing, they felt very out of place, they never adapted well. The second wave would be about in their 60s now, and they adjusted much better, but they often don't have kids. They come to channel energy. I can't explain me. The third wave are kids, probably maybe Gen Xers. They're still coming, and they are the hope of mankind. We've read cards on that, not exactly. We've read cards on other stuff, and the cards have said that the children are the hope, much more than just the usual stereotype thing that we all say. That these particular children specifically are the hope, that they function differently, their DNA is different, and one of the important messages that Canon is given is they should not be given Ritalin. They're bored at school, which is why they have disruptive behavior. They learn much faster, but no one's teaching them anything. They need challenges. Many have genius ability and talents and a socially conscious bent. An example would be Greta Thunberg. The talents are not from their past lives, interestingly enough. Their talents are from a completely different soul pattern. They are special beings. But all three waves came to help Mother Earth, and most of these souls actually never lived on Earth before. Oh, that's interesting. Native souls are bogged down by karma. Okay, that makes complete sense. The more children you have, the more you're bogged down by karma. Boy, I sure wish I'd... No, I'm kidding. It makes sense, though, because raising children is such a challenge, to be even-tempered and to do and say the right thing all the time. It's virtually impossible. So these new souls need to be careful that this doesn't happen to them. They don't want to be tied here. So now they often skip earlier incarnations to prepare for modern Earth, and they've been sent as sort of antennae or channels for energy. Then Canon did a trance session with a husband and a wife, and the husband, Tony, went into a trance and describes this beautiful, all-encompassing light of colors and love. He says he's a member of a council in a room with other energy beings, and the council guides those of lower vibration to higher vibration and to help them to gain knowledge. So he's one of these more elevated beings. And they're all over the universe, not just in any one planet, not just Earth. And they come into this physical incarnation like these helper beings she was just talking about from this other person, they come without having had previous physical lives. So Cannon was provided with information from this guy whose job was to help, since he had no experience of Earth. And this is called imprinting. He came with imprinted information and no karma into this time period to observe how we are about accepting knowledge. The negativity on this planet is difficult, and it's different from elsewhere. The human race is a warrior race and has great difficulty with peace because we have low vibration. It's very challenging not to get caught up in that. Oh God, no kidding. So this Tony guy has to work hard to not incur a debt of negative karma. It's just so easy to be trapped on the earth. It would be easier if we remembered all this stuff, but Cannon is once again reminded that the point is to not know and to use free will for the right choices, because that's how we learn. That good karma is balanced by making right choices, and that children teach their parents and parents teach their children, and it's a mutual thing. It's not a one-way thing. That people are now open finally, because of all this information coming from these special souls, these children, the helpers. People are now open to different ways with healing. And now here's a big surprise. Leaders intentionally allow deaths to deprive souls of the physical. It's intentional. Sally is Tony's wife, and in a trance, she says that she's volunteered to bring increased energy to the earth. Her body is fine-tuned, and as she's gotten older, it remains tuned in a way to hold on to the energy. And she too has information imprints. And also her soul won't get trapped here because she has a different contract, and her contract is such that it's not karmic for her here. Part of her job was just to come with a group of souls, and they have work to do, and she's in their lives. They may or may not recognize each other, but her job is to help them not get trapped in karma. She helps them work it off by releasing it. Now that's interesting. Does that mean she's really annoying and they have to learn how to, I don't know. So a lot of new souls are here to provide energy and healing. It's like they emit continuous light, and without karma to diminish that. The amount of energy in a soul can't all be contained by a body, and Sally has twice as much energy as a regular person. She is an experiment. That's really interesting. You have to wonder what these people are like as a couple if you went out for dinner with them. How would you know? Would you know how weird they were? I wish somebody had asked Dolores Cannon that. So there are many incarnations and many different levels of energy, different types of spirits and souls with an energy body and not necessarily in a physical body at all. So then, now we're on 2004, and she does another session with a guy in the medical field who has anxiety. And when he's in a trance, he says he was on another planet, and he wasn't even actually what we would consider a person. He was a killing machine. He was the product of genetic engineering on a warlike home planet, and his body was designed to store a ton of energy. And he was sent to an enemy planet on a spaceship, and he was the method of killing people to collect energy. He was like a suicide machine. He would trigger his energy and it would blow up, and it would blow up like 10 nukes all at one time. And his soul immediately reincarnated back to his same planet of origin, and he would do it all over again. And this is why he felt anxiety. He was trapped. He had no family. He had no social connections. This is kind of a weird slavery. He finally broke out of the cycle after extreme long time, when finally he raised his consciousness enough And the planet that he was on raised its consciousness enough that they ended war. And he reincarnated to Earth. So for many lifetimes, he was a murderer, so much killing on Earth that he felt at home on Earth. So this time around, as a kid, he wanted to be a mercenary, but he was redirected by his family to go into medicine, and this was sort of a karmic improvement for him. His anxiety was the rage he kept from his past lives, the hate and the violence left over from his past lives. It was a battle for him to keep his subconscious down and to advance karmically. He and the Earth were both emerging from a violent cycle, and this is why we are all here, to help to raise the energy, to get out of this cycle of violence. And we have to oppose things like the death penalty. I mean, it just seems it's all connected. It's really weird. Chapter 10, Life in Non-Human Bodies. Now, speaking of getting weird. So this session was in 2002. Cannon discovered that everything has energy, and you may have been something other than human. You reincarnate in different ways depending on what it is you need to learn. She met a subject who, when under trance, said that she was part of the atmosphere, or he was part of the atmosphere. His job was to help clear toxic gases so Earth could eventually support life. He wasn't nothing, but he was aware of his purpose. I mean, he wasn't nothing. That's my shorthand. He wasn't anything. He was just functioning, but he had a purpose. So we must experience life in all its forms before we incarnate as humans. And this teaches us that all is one. So she describes all these different life forms. The guy who had been a dolphin, and this led to an explanation that energy was different. So he had to make adjustments to his human body to allow his energy to incarnate. I guess he reincarnated with a different level of energy than he really needed to be as a human, and that was why he was having problems, and went to Dolores, and she helped him to figure it out subconsciously. Chapter 11, A Stranger to Earth. Cannon said she has met many subjects who feel out of place, and then in trance they claim that their soul is new to the Earth and they have come to help to improve the vibrations, to raise our consciousness. Cannon is told that they seek her out for issues because their subconscious knows they're ready to remember that this is why they're here. In 2002, she had this subject in a trance as a young guy. Whoever the subject is, a lot of times I didn't write it down. I'm sorry. This person in trance realizes that he's a guy hiding in the hills above a village because the authorities are after him because he has psychic abilities and somebody has tattled. And he's had to flee several other places. He's always being hunted because they're afraid and superstitious. Instinctively, he knows that he has reincarnated from another star system. He's a star child. He says, I was born here, but I'm not from here. I think I go back there to the other star system at night when I'm asleep for visits. He tried to hide his abilities, but someone always found out. In real life, living then, he's a glass blower, and he eventually learned to control his abilities and not attract attention, and he found a more evolved community to live with. And he learns to have intentional visits with the star system to get more information. And he's aware of all of this. His purpose is to learn how to interact with people, to train him to be of help in a future life when he comes back to help during a cataclysm. He sees star beings coming in vehicles to visit him. It's like meeting old friends. He's told that he'll shed his human body and leave with them and go to a different physical density. And he's happy to go because Earth is so hard for him because he's so advanced. Many times these stories talk about beings that are so energetically advanced that it's like a major, like a physical effort to lower their vibratory level to fit in on Earth. and they don't stay long. It's why it's hard to see a ghost. The vibratory level is wrong. So he's happy to go. His planet is real physically, but it has a higher vibration. Earth is lower, and therefore the human body would dissolve in his higher vibratory planet. They have a form, but it's a different, I mean, a lot of this stuff we can't understand. We don't have the brain power. To us, it would look spindly in their actual form, almost like a grasshopper, and they're red. And here, he's in a project to help humans to increase their frequency, and they come here and function as guides who teach by example. So people who are really nice and who are really kind. They also work with other places off Earth. He says there's a crisis on Earth, that the energy, that there are those who want to stop our development of our energy. They fear that they'll lose control. They hope to stop, the good guys hope to stop the controlling people before the civilization on Earth is destroyed. Well, we'd all still be okay, but it would take longer and be harder and affect others in the cosmos, and it's better to fix it before it happens. On his, that doesn't, when I say we're all going to be okay, that doesn't mean we're all going to survive in, you know, Cabo or something. No, we're going to move forward, but who knows what that'll be like. On his planet, they exist in the physical form for thousands of years, and when they transition, they shed their bodies. They just decide that they're ready to do it. They know about their spiritual energy, and they transition. It's a planned event. It's viewed as a regeneration and a rejuvenation because they know that they will come back again. Okay, chapter 12. Work during the sleep state. So in Florida in 2022, and I'm wondering, is that right? Did I write that down? And it should be 2002. I think so. Patricia, who's a hospice nurse, bear with me here a second. I'm gonna look this up because I think, 2002. My subconscious getting the better of me. So Florida in 2002, Patricia, who's a hospice nurse, is in a trance, discovered that she also worked with the dying while she was asleep. In her trance, she's in a beautiful garden, but she's moving around by thought, teleporting. And she knew that this was her home, and she was very emotional. The air is different, lots of different colors. She sees the energy as colors. She's sent to various other places with beautiful colors and energy to work and to get this energy, and can return with it to the earth and her sleeping body, or she can go other places to help people who die, help them to get back to where they're supposed to be after they die, because they're between worlds. Some don't even know there is a place to go, you know. Depends on where your head's at. So she leaves her physical body at night, and she guides their spirits home. Some are going to leave soon, and she helps their spirits learn the way to not get into traffic jams of souls. There's so many confused souls all at once trying to figure out what happened. When people leave their body suddenly, it's often the emotional body, and they're in a state of confusion and fear, and they don't leave their physical body right away. I mean, they do, but they don't. They hang around. The guides help them to learn the way and to guide them. And they're not always spirit guides. They're incarnate souls that have a body sleeping somewhere. It's done while their body is asleep, and they'll escort the dead person's soul to the guide who takes them further. It's like a relay. It's like they're helping out. Everyone's soul has a plan, and to increase your self-knowledge and improve yourself in your vibratory level. And everyone knows subconsciously that they'll be leaving the physical soon. And when you're approaching death, even if you don't know it consciously, subconsciously your body does, your soul does. And greeters help people connect with the spirit part of them and to learn the path and recognize what's happening so that this knowledge is imparted to you even if you're not aware of it, so you won't be taken by surprise. And sometimes it isn't. It just sort of depends on, I think, your receptivity. So we all have spirit. Some people, oh, here we go. Some people just embrace it more and they're more open to it. Others need to learn more. They're shown ahead of time to relieve their fear and confusion. So we all have a contract, and sometimes events in it have flexibility, but we're all agreeing ahead of time. Free will is the many opportunities that you contract to make choices. So you have like an outline of what you're going to learn, but there are variables that you use your free will. So nothing is written in stone. Everything depends on your free will choices. And the example they give is the people who died on 9/11 and the people who escaped and who lived were prepared ahead of time by guides while they were still alive in their sleep. And they were all in agreement with the plan. That's kind of a mind blower. So there's an etheric plane in which everything is potential, and we don't know what the potential will be. It depends on free will. It may not manifest. It's all about possibilities, and they all may not manifest. We work with people over time to help them see more and more of their light so they aren't afraid. We will move into a greater expansion. This is what the spirit is telling through the subject. Ascension to the next dimension where frequency and vibration changes and we become pure light is what the goal is. One possibility that happens sometimes is some kind of a catastrophe in which many die at one time. And many have made the choice for that to happen for whatever reason. But some are not prepared. They're confused. They don't realize that they're not in their bodies anymore. And these souls who are alive but asleep help to make that transition. It comforts the chaos in their energy, and then it's when it's dampened down, when their fear is dampened down, they're able to remember and they go, oh, right, now I know what's going on. Earthly belief systems create the fear and the guilt and the shame, and they complicate things, and it's all about just, feeling the love. People, too, are influenced by culture and education, and the job of these enlightened souls is to help enlighten them, to overcome their preconceived notions from their culture and their upbringing. Some souls are like a jewel encased in a hard plaster. You can help remove the plaster and show them their inner beauty. And that there's another world that is energy that's higher than the earth, and that you're moving forward. There are souls that have low energy. I mean, we can't ignore that. There are ones that hurt people, the ones who just can't find the light. There are ones that like the darkness, which is kind of an interesting concept. And it takes a lot of love and light to heal them, but it will happen. They will heal. But they're not reincarnating on Earth right now. There's too much negative energy. People that are being born now are not here to learn how to get rid of a whole lot of negative energy that they're carrying with them because they're base and tied to the earth too much. She says we're in an energy cycle. We're all reaching a point where people will diverge depending on their energy or their vibratory level. It's sort of like karma. They won't be taking part in the movement forward because their energy is so low. And she says this is not a punishment. They're drawn to the darkness, so it's not a punishment. They're drawn to it. And they'll break out of this dark energy, and their light will shine, but it's going to take a lot. So it's all about speed of development. you know. The ultimate home is the original energy that we come from. And there are many different levels of energy on Earth. And there's going to be a redirection of the energy and the people. People will be taking different paths. They will go where they feel comfortable, and then they'll have choices. It's nothing punitive, and it's not a reward or a punishment. It's just going where you're appropriate to move to the next step. Home is equal to different levels of energy for different people. Earth will become aware of its increased spiritual vibe, and a large circle of ascended beings around the Earth are here to help, and they're creating different pathways for all the people of different energies. It's a reassurance that it's senseless to be worrying about this. Just concentrate on trying to make good choices. And interestingly, different levels of energy have different colors, and they attract people of certain energy. And so what Denise was saying a couple of weeks ago is she thinks all of this is like physics. It's energy attracts energy, and this is basically the same thing. The subject in this session, her soul knew that she was already, when she came, knew she was of high energy and coming to help. Her physical person, named Patricia, didn't know. But now, because of these sessions, she's connected to her subconscious, and she does know. So this next subject is a woman named Ida in 2002. And in trance, she sees she's in a beautiful place that's not the Earth, and she's with a bunch of light beings in a garden of golden light. And there's a fountain of golden love, and we are all light beings. She, Ida, is from a place of peace, bliss, and harmony. And then she came here. So she also works with souls when her body is asleep. She heals frequencies and thought patterns and works in war zone in spirit. She has worked in Afghanistan in spirit. Ida told a lot to Dolores Cannon that came true the next year in Iraq. So many spirit schools exist in this temple of wisdom with a great hall of learning, and they are the most advanced. These teachers are advanced guides, and they have worked out most of the Earth's karma in their own selves. Many advanced souls now are here not for their own karma, but as help. They've already taken care of their own karma, so they're coming here to help other people. Most of Cannon's subjects who regress confirm that the number of guides has increased right now to help, us, and that their soul doesn't sleep when their body's asleep. Their soul's out there working. They're busy. They travel and have adventures. They learn things. They help people. They are connected to the body by a silver cord, and it's not severed until physical death. Some experience moments of paralysis when they're waking up, and this is before the physical and the soul have reconnected, because their body's been out there. Their soul's been out there wandering. It's all a natural part of our existence, and we don't fully understand the complexity of what we're living in. Spirit works with elders and masters and makes a plan, makes goals and agreements, and reincarnates with free will, and it sometimes deviates from the plan because of free will, and it imbalances the karma because of free will choices, and then you have to come back. Conscious memory is erased of all this subconscious remembering. We carry it with us, we can tap into it, but most of us don't remember any of it. We don't remember because it wouldn't be a test if you knew the answers. So our souls, we think we're prepared, that Earth, when we reincarnate, we think, oh yeah, I can do this. And then quickly discover that Earth is much harder than it looks, and we mess up and then have to redo it. It's like, oh God, I'm stuck here. So before you come, you agree on your next exit plan, dying. You may leave for various reasons because you've achieved your goal. You've finished the work that you had to do. You've worked out your karma. Or your staying might be a liability to the lessons of other people. or you need to get out of a dead end created by poor chances and start all over. Life situations often have big spiritual purposes. Material loss might be because you need to focus on what's important. Helicopters. Oh, wow. Uh-oh. They're coming to get us. So life, you might be focusing too much on material loss, and so you're suffering financial issues. It feels like a punishment, but it's a lesson. It forces a change of direction. Modern medicine interferes with natural death plans these days. It makes things harder for the spiritual world. Chapter 13, the first of the seven. I don't know what that is. I don't remember reading this chapter. It's been so long. So 2002, Robert, she meets him at Glastonbury. She goes to England and does, everywhere she goes, people torture her, when she was alive, to put them into a trance. And she used to be much more agreeable to doing that in the early days, because now she's like pulled in 1,000 different directions in the context of this time period. So this guy hires her. He goes into a trance and describes a multi-dimensional structure of positive and negative in a beautiful place beside a waterfall. And he's met by an old man with a beard. And the man says to him, "You are in so much pain, come here." Excuse me. And Robert sees himself as a 3-year-old boy, and he feels pain, and he knows that the pain is actually a burden of knowledge, and that he's at this waterfall to learn. He says he is a composite of energy, and if he stops resisting the knowledge, his pain will go away. And apparently he was given knowledge as a child and resisted it and has been in pain ever since. They made changes to the frequency of his DNA. And this makes him what they call a special 7. No explanation. That's just what he's saying. So chapter 14, it's a short chapter too. Chapter 14, Advanced Beings. Canon is told that 7 special beings, this is a different time now, are here to help. And she met Robert, this is the guy we just did in the chapter. Well, he was one of them, and she would meet another soon. And she was warned not to put them in touch with each other. They weren't supposed to do that. She was told to travel less and stay home and write more. She was told her hypnosis technique was the way of the future because she had to teach others how to do it. She taught hypnosis classes, and on the last day she demonstrated. Everybody wanted to volunteer. All the people taking the classes wanted to volunteer. So she put their names in a hat and picked out the name of Estelle, who went into a trance and describes a beautiful place with flowers, colors, crystals, not on the earth. The crystals were generating energy. She knew she was in a different galaxy. She said, "This is a galactic vacation spot where beings come to re-energize." She said you can go physically or you can just project your energy, but either way you re-energize. That the human form is really just a mask. That advanced souls can see past the mask into the soul. And interestingly, in Latin, the root for mask means persona. I just thought that was interesting. Robert said the same thing, that these advanced souls wear an illusion, but that they look real and solid to people, but that's not what they really are. Without this mask, they are a physical form surrounded by light, and they look kind of reptilian, and they live simultaneously on another planet. This is a concept they've talked about before, but she goes into a lot later in the book, that these souls can be in more than one place at a time. And they have great mind capacity. They can project themselves into other places. They store information on tiny discs that are read by the mind. And This being came to help because a few are abusing their power and controlling the many, and he came to change that. And this subject was special and had communication with these higher beings. This is Stella, had communication with higher beings and had a panel with chips inside of her to help her look human because she is half reptilian. Oh my God, I wonder if she listened to this afterwards. I think that would freak me out a little bit. So she can know this now because she must educate other people that the earth is facing a battle of dark and light. How would you feel if they told you that? Anyway, the subject says that many children are being born with great knowledge, and the more people who are awakened, the stronger the earth and the stronger the earth energy. Do not medicate the children. Try to avoid medications and drugs of all kinds. The soul can enter any body. A body is determined by its environment. That's an interesting thought. That those, well, I guess that's kind of what the whole evolution thing says, really. Those in charge will try to prevent the awakening. That's an important thing to remember, that Canon got told a lot. Section 4, the wise people. Chapter 15, remembering the wise one. In 2001, a woman named Virginia, an RN, she goes into a trance, and it describes a bleak, desolate, barren environment and a long stream of people with camels loaded for market. She's a female. She's old. She's 35. Tired from hard work and the struggle to survive. It's no rest, no play. She lives in a structure surrounding a cave and inside the cave. There are a few intact families because of marauders who attack, rape, kill, and steal children. The marauders want to make their group bigger and make her group smaller. One of her 3 children was stolen, and life is very hard. Oh, shoot, sorry about that. I didn't think I'd make it to this pad of paper. There are no city people. She hears that bad things happen in the city. They're in the desert. She trades woven blankets for food, and they are near a trade route, and she tries to create beauty in the blankets. Her husband raises goats for milk and wool. They hate to eat them. They want to raise them for milk and wool. So this family is alone in this cave, and she remembers when life was free and not this hard. She doesn't know where her memories come from. Not this life, but she remembers there was a time when it was peaceful and happy and not so hard. And the people around her have no such memories, and they think she's nuts. And the question Canon asks is, this must be a past life. She feels different, separate. She doesn't fit in. Canon takes her to an important day, and she describes meeting an old man in a trade caravan who is a man of strength and learning. He's humble. Others in the caravan think that they're superior and that she's nothing. They don't treat these people who live in a cave very well. The old man saw her differently and saw her difference and spoke of other times. He speaks of the water of life and tells her a part of her can travel without her body, that she is not really her body, and that she can cross into and access other realms and times. He speaks to her about angels. She says she's seen angels, beings of light, and she's told no one because she's afraid of their reaction. These beings talk to her, and this is why she worries that she's crazy. She feels, he tells her that they are great beings who love her and that she can travel with them and can learn and eat with them and feel full. She says, I feel like I want to need more, that I do know more, but I can't remember, that they come at night when I'm asleep. The old man says that he came with another fleeing a long time ago and has been on Earth a very long time and soon must leave. And he does speak of other lives and tells her not to be afraid. His friend is a man of peace and love. They both are weary and long to return home. He tells her that she will return to that place too, and that it's beautiful, and he will go back home and meet up again with old friends. He has learned many things on Earth here, and she mentions that she's heard of a place called the Indus River. The old man has gone west of there to a place called Judea. He gave her the great gift of freedom of mind. And she's taken to another day in the session of the trance, and she's getting ready to die now. She's traveled many places. She's been able to interact with great beings, and she's, done it this way. She has no fear of death. There is no death. She says, I know I have other things to do and places to go. At death, she sees an angel and other angels' friends and feels lighter, and she floats to them. She finds herself in a place of peace and love, light and freedom. She says she was here to learn how to integrate spirit and earth life. And that's because she's going to come to help when, in the future, people who need the help. And she says, I've chosen to be one of the people who doesn't completely forget. I will always be reminded of who I am. And this spurs her on to more enlightenment, and it helps to make progress. It's a karmic promise, and the old guy was a karmic promise too. She won't be alone. She'll always be with the same reincarnated group of souls around her to keep her from getting trapped by karma. She says, we promised each other that we would remind each other of who we were and why we were here. We will meet when we're ready, and we have a pre-planned subconscious code that will trigger our memories, and we can visit those who are still alive after she dies. So I'm going to end this here because this is the end of a chapter. It's a good place to stop. That was video number 3. And I'll be back with video number 4. I have to go to work right now. We'll see what my mood is tomorrow. Let me know if you want me to continue. Okay. And try to answer my comments later on today, maybe, or tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I know this is a lot of information, and it kind of meanders from trance subject to trance subject. But when you put them all together, you step back a bit. You get this picture of reality quite different from what we're used to seeing. So I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you very much for watching. I have been taking notes on people's suggestions for books. I have several weeks already prepared, and they're pretty interesting. So thank you for watching, and have a good weekend, or have a good Friday night. Well, oops, we're pretending it's Saturday. I have to go to work. And thank you very much. Slanga foil. Slancha.